Hello everyone. In this video we'll discuss how much money you need to fire, that is financially independent and retire early. I have done few assumptions in the video, and the first assumption is with respect to individual, where I am assuming the individual to be married and he's non-working, and he's also having two kids of age 1 and 4 year. Apart from that, he owns a house and he is having all the essentials that includes car, fridge, AC, etc. He's also having health and life insurance, and he's staying in tier 2 cities. Let us assume the name of the individual to be Anant. Additionally, I'm assuming the inflation to be 6%, tax rate to be 15%, and the return on investment to be 12%. Please note that this 12% return on investment is quite conservative, and this you can get by investing in any of the index mutual fund. But if you have a mix of small, mid, and large cap stock, obviously your return will be higher. In terms of tax rate, the tax rate is 15% for short term capital gain and it is 10% for long term capital gain. But I'm assuming the tax rate to be 15% because most probably Indian government will be increasing the tax on the long term and short term capital gain. Additionally, inflation rate is 6%. So let us assume you are going to buy a apple at this point of time. So to buy 1 kilogram of apple, you might need 100 rupees. And because of inflation, the same 1 kilogram apple will cost you 106 rupees next year, and 112 rupees after 2 years, and 119 rupees after 3 years. So if you see, the purchasing power of 100 rupees at this point of time will be equivalent to the purchasing power of 119 rupees after 3 years. Now let us discuss how much money you need to retire today. So the total amount that is needed, I have categorized it into two categories. One is day-to-day expense and the other one is one-time expense. Day-to-day expense covers things like household expenses, expenses on your rent, bills, etc. And one-time expense will include things like expenses for the higher education, marriage, or maybe any medical emergency or buying a house. Now let us discuss how much money you need today to meet your day-to-day expenses forever, assuming the age of the individual to be 30 years. But please do note that the age is irrelevant here, and the same calculation will be applicable for any age. And I'm assuming the monthly expenses to be 50,000, given he is staying in a tier 2 cities. So the expense would be approximately 50,000 per month. This way, the yearly expenses would be 6 lakh. So at this point of time, if Anant's yearly expense is 6 lakh, then Anant will need 1 crore 50 lakh to retire. So if he has 1 crore 50 lakh, he will be able to meet his day-to-day expense. How I have come up with this 1 crore 50 lakh, I will explain shortly. But first, let us do the calculation. If I'm having 1 crore 50 lakh right now, and I'm assuming 12% rate of return, so the total return for the first year would be 18 lakh. And out of 18 lakh, I will withdraw 9 lakh, and remaining 9 lakh I will let it grow at 12% CAGR, and I will not withdraw that remaining 9 lakh. So for the first year I have withdrawn 9 lakh. Out of this 9 lakh I will have to pay the taxes. As the tax rate is 15%, so I will have to pay approximately 1 lakh 35,000 as tax, and I have rounded it up to 1 lakh 50,000. So I will be paying 1 lakh 50,000 as tax of the 9 lakh, and remaining 7 lakh 50,000 I can use it for day-to-day expenses. Please note that for the first year his yearly expenses was 6 lakh, and I have taken 25% buffer so that if there is any unforeseen situation which happens in the future, he will be able to meet the needs. Otherwise, you can ignore this 25% and you can go with 6 lakh. So assuming 25%, The amount that he will be needing today is 7,50,000, which is matching with the 7,50,000 that he is getting as a return. So this was the calculation for the first year. So for next year, he will be having 1 crore 50 lakh, and on top of that, last year he got 18 lakh return, out of which 9 lakh he did not withdraw. So the total amount for next lakh would be 1 crore 59 lakh. And for this 1 crore 59 lakh, again he will get 12% return. So the total return for the next year would be 19 lakh 8,000, out of which he will withdraw 9 lakh 54,000, and he will let it grow the remaining 9 lakh 54,000 to grow at 12% CAGR. So for this 9 lakh 54,000, again he will have to pay 15% tax, which is 1 lakh 43,000, and the remaining he can use it for day-to-day expense. So I'm assuming he will pay 1,59,000 as tax, and remaining 7,95,000 he will be able to use for day-to-day expenses. So this is the summation total 9,54,000 that he will withdraw. As for the first year, his total expense was 7,50,000. The next year, the expenses would be higher because of the 6% inflation. So the total amount that he will be needing next year is 7,95,000, which is matching with the calculation that we got over here. So like this, if you see this inflation component, which is 6%, it will keep growing at 12% CAGR, and because of this, you will be able to beat the inflation, and your amount or your total investment will never go to zero. So this was about the Excel calculation. Now I will share two tricks with you so that you will be able to do all this calculation without any Excel. So first of all, with respect to how much money you need to retire, the amount that you need to retire is 25 times of your yearly expenses. So let us suppose your monthly expense is 20,000. The yearly expenses would be 2,40,000. So the amount that you need to retire today is 60 lakh. And the same calculation is being done over here. So out of 60 lakh, you will withdraw 3,60,000. 3,60,000 will grow at 12% CAGR. And from 3,60,000, you will pay 60,000 as taxes, and remaining 3 lakh you will use it for day-to-day expenses, which is same as the amount that you will need for first year, assuming 25% buffer. And for next year, you will need 3,80,000, and the same you are getting over here also 3,18,000. So as a rule of thumb, you can take 25% of your yearly expense as the amount that you need to meet your day-to-day expense if you want to retire right now. This was the first trick. The next trick over here is with respect to how the amount between inflation, yearly expenses, and the tax will be divided. So you can assume the inflation to be 6%. So this part you do not have to change. This will be fixed forever. And let us suppose at this point of time, we are assuming the return rate to be 12%. So 5% will go to yearly expense and 1% will go to tax. So if the assumed return is 12%, so this number will be fixed: 6% for inflation, 5% for yearly expenses, and 1% for taxes. If let us suppose if the assumed return is higher, maybe if it is 20%, in that scenario also the inflation component will be 6%, the yearly component and the tax component will change. Now let us discuss about one time expense. As per the assumption, this person Anant was having two kids, so you will need the amount for their higher education and also for their marriage in the future. So this current value column over here, this gives the amount that he has to sell out right now to avail these services. But all these services he will not be availing at this point of time. All these things he will be availing in the future. So as an example, the children one higher education he will avail after 15 years. The children to higher education maybe after 20 years, and likewise for other one-time expenses as well. So let us do the calculation. If he has to pay 25 lakh at this point of time for children for higher education, then how much amount he will need after 15 years? So the amount that he will be needing after 15 years is approximately 60 lakh. And this calculation is assuming 6% inflation rate, which I explained over here. Like if you need 100 rupees to buy something at this point of time, you will need 119 rupees to buy it after 3 years. Same way over here, if he needs to pay 25 lakh for higher education at this point of time, he will have to pay approximately 16 lakh after 15 years. Same is the calculation for other component as well. So the total amount over here is approximately 5 crore 34 lakh. So do you think you will need additional 5 crore 34 lakh to meet one-time expenses? So the answer is no. The amount that you will need is only 43 lakh. So you have 43 lakh at this point of time. You will be able to meet all these one-time expenses in the future after these many years. So let us do the calculation for child one education. So let us suppose I am having 13 lakh at this point of time and I am getting 12% CAGR for this 13 lakh. And as I will be needing this amount after 15 lakh, assuming 12% CAGR, this amount will grow to approximately 71 lakh after 15 years. And on top of this, I will have to pay 15% taxes. So I will pay 10 lakh as tax. So the actual return would be 60 lakh 48,000, which is matching with the amount that he will need for the children for higher education. So this way, I have done the other calculation as well. So for child to education, he will need 10 lakh, and assuming 12% CAGR, and after removing the taxes, he will be getting 82 lakh for this after 20 years. Same way for child one marriage, 8 lakh will turn to 1 crore 15 lakh. Child two marriage, 6 lakh will turn into 1 crore 52 lakh. And for medical emergency, 6 lakh will turn into 1 crore 52 lakh after 30 years. This way, he will be able to meet all his one-time expenses. So again over here, this is a long calculation which is done via Excel. You can do all these things with a simple trick as well. So let us assume right now the cost of something is 100 rupees and you want to avail this service after 15 years. So the cost of same service or product would be 214 rupees after 15 years. So how much amount you will need to have right now that you can grow at 12% CAGR so that it will be having the value of 240 rupees after 15 years. So the amount is only 50 rupees. So if you have 50 rupees right now and if you are able to grow it at 12% CAGR, after 15 years, the value would be 233 rupees, and this is after paying the taxes. So as a general rule, what you can assume is if you need any amount after 15 years and the current value of that is X rupees, so you will need X by 2 amount. So here if you see the current value was 25 lakh and you needed it after 15 years, so you just need to have 13 lakh. Same way, something which you need after 20 years, you divide the current value by 2.5 and you will get the calculation. So 25 lakh is the current value. If you have 10 lakh, like 25 lakh divided by 2.5, after 20 years, this 10 lakh will give you 81 lakh, with which you will be able to meet the need. After 25 years, if you need any amount, you have to divide the current amount by 3. So 25 divided by 3 is 8 lakh. If you need anything after 30 years, you divide the current value by 4. So 25 lakh divided by 4, 6 lakh. And with this 6 lakh, if it grows at 12% CAGR, you will be able to avail the same service after 30 years. So for meeting the day-to-day expenses, assuming his monthly expense was 50,000, he needed 1 crore 50 lakh. And for meeting his one time expense, he needs 43 lakh at this point of time. So the total amount that he will need is 1 crore 93 lakh. If he has 1 crore 93 lakh at this point of time as a form of investment, and if we go with all these assumptions, he will be able to meet all his future needs even if he is non-working. So few of you might be asking, this 1 crore 93 lakh is too much. How will I get this 1 crore 93 lakh? But if you do the SIP, this doesn't look like it is impossible. It is quite possible. So I'm assuming your age to be 20 years at this point of time, and you started your monthly investment. That is, you started your 42,000 monthly investment, and you will do a step up of 8%, and the expected rate of return is 12%, and you have this set up for 12 years. So after 12 years, this amount will grow to 1,92,000, and you need approximately 1,93,000. So if you start your working from 21 years, and if you're able to do it for 12 years, so you will be able to retire by 33 years. Same way, if you start doing SIP from 25 years, and if you do this for 12 years, you will be able to retire by 37 years. So earlier the better. So that's it from my side for this video. If you have any question, you can ask in the comment section. Otherwise, you can also let me know your day-to-day expenses and the one-time expenses, and based on that, I will let you know how much amount you need to retire at this point of time. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.